Welcome to the RYLACast, the official podcast of Camp RYLA, Rotary District 5810. My name's Greg Tepper. I'm joined by the man they call Josey, our extraordinaire of AV. He is Andrew Josey Utz.
Well, hello, Greg. And is that a shot?
It's not a shot. No, it's not a shot because we were at, it was RYLA, it's RYLA Roundup, right? That's what it's called?
RYLA Roundup, yeah.
RYLA Roundup, which is basically when we all get together and we get together with our wonderful Rotary designees, right? From each club.
Yes.
And kind of talk them through the process of getting camp going and how to recruit campers and the, all the nitty gritty stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And there was a video that you guys were trying to play that, and I want to thank our gracious hosts at Brookhaven College, but like there was some sort of disconnect technology wise. And I just appreciate you guys not giving up. And you guys got that video on the freaking air, and that is amazing.
We've got a little bit of Murphy's Law going on, and I won't take up too much of our time. Whenever technology happens, like no matter how many times you rehearse or plug it in, it's not going to work, right? When you have a room full of people. In early on in my AV troubleshooting days, it really bothered me, and I got real nervous when like something wasn't working in a room full of people. But then I realized you guys don't know what you're missing. And we'll figure it out eventually. Like it may be 5 or 10 minutes. We may have to swap the schedule around, but yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I thought that everybody worked very hard to get that on the air, and I just appreciate your hustle.
Yes.
So well done.
Also shout out if you're building a building, let me stress to you the importance of HDMI as a technology. That's all I'm going to say.
This is the RYLACast, the official podcast of Camp RYLA, Rotary District 5810. We do thank you for spending a little bit of your day with us. Coming up here in just a little bit, and I know I can say this confidently because we've already recorded it, and I'm going to make it through the miracle of editing. You will hear from our good friend Bradley Atuba about all things in his world and his RYLA story, what it's like to be an actor. I ask him about failure, which feels uncomfortable, but like I did it. But we had a great conversation with Bradley, one of our faves. You're all our faves, but Bradley's actually one of our faves. Am I allowed to say that?
Well put.
Yeah. Exactly. So we will hear from Bradley Atuba coming up here at the back half of the program. So we are recording this on January 31st, which is a Tuesday, and is a Tuesday that'll go down in Dallas-Fort Worth infamy. Not only is the day that Tepper for some reason started losing his voice, but also because today was it wasn't a snow day, but it was like an ice day, Yeah. And I want to know how you spent your ice day.
I spent my ice day working, but we also didn't have childcare. So shout out to Joni for also working and parenting most of the day. One thing I will say about the ice day is early in the morning, I heard an opportunity for thunder sleet.
Yes.
Is a phenomenon I have never experienced. And I got to experience that today.
I love that as a concept. I love it just conceptually.
Yes.
The idea of thunder sleep.
But yeah, how was your ice day?
Yeah, so both my kids were home because their school was closed. And then my wife her school was closed as well. She's a teacher. And so it was all four of us at the house. Today was actually, I don't want this to be a woe is me moment, but today was actually supposed to be like a personal day for me. I was going to like get some stuff done, have a nice relaxing day. And then it ended up being like full court press. And I'll just tell you that I don't know. There's a lot of things that are better as you get older. But let me tell you that one thing that gets decidedly worse as you get older is snow days. Like that trajectory is only one-way traffic. The older you get, the worse it gets. Is that fair?
That's fair. And
Or
that
at
is
the
that
very least, like if you're after you get past the age of like 21, then it certainly goes downhill from there.
like maybe perhaps the burden of responsibilities that envelops you upon the age of 21, 22 makes snow days measurably worse.
Oh, more hassle. Excuse me, more hassle than they're worth. Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
See, my kids are getting me sick too. It's terrible.
Oh.
Anyway, I'll edit this out. I wanted this out. Anyway, all that's to say that if and when you have the opportunity to stay at home with a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old and just plant them in front of blazing the monster machines for hours, you got to take that opportunity, which is what we did today. All right, let's get this show on the road. Josey has drawn what I consider to be the long straw because he gets the big segment, the opening segment of this here, the opening salvo of this here RYLACast. And so here, with a something to think about, which I think was the original name of the big segment before we just started calling it the big segment, is Josey.
Well, thanks, Greg. Yes, drew the long straw today, and I feel like this goes along the lines of our thunder sleet phenomenon. I was taking a page out of your book and perusing the Harvard Business Review.
Love it.
And came across an article by Eben Harrell titled "The Power of Everyday Awe." And
AWE, awe?
AWE. Yes, not AWW. That's an important distinction now that you mention that. AWE. And the summary is, in times of tumult, we need comfort, healing, and inspiration. A good way to find them is by appreciating the vast and wondrous things that transcend us, according to several new books. And that's something to think about. No, I'm just kidding.
It's going to be a short podcast.
I find this, if I can step on my fatherhood soapbox for a moment, you may have mentioned this on the podcast several episodes ago. But this idea of experiencing firsts through my son's eyes is awe-inspiring. So this article essentially talks about how, in 2020, the focus was all on kind of not 2020 as a year, but I guess if pre-pandemic kind of grit and this growth mindset and grinding it out. And now, there's just been an emotional and physical toll over the past couple of years. And there's a renewed feeling on kind of how to experience awe. And sorry, go. You were.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that that's an interesting point because I do think there's been a bit of a revolt against like grind culture. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like I can, because, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the like, oh, you got to like never stop working and that kind of stuff. And I feel like even in the last like 3 to 5 years, I feel like there has been like a sizable and noticeable pushback against that, which I would like to be a part of because I think that's I think you don't want to work yourself to death. Mm-hmm. And yeah, but I think that's really interesting that like, yeah, the grit and you got to put your nose to the grindstone 24/7. That has kind of gone by the wayside a little bit.
Yeah, no. And there's a couple different books. Apparently a lot of people write about awe. And there's an author who's a psychologist at the University of California, Berkeley, named Dasher Keltner, and he defines awe as the feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends your current understanding of the world, and a way to evoke awe is something called the overview effect, which is envisioning yourself or the world from a great distance. And I don't know, I may call this daydreaming, but it's fascinating to me to think about, and this may be a little controversial, so I'm going to preemptively say that everything we do and you do in your life is significant. I'm also going to say it is incredible to think about what I won't say you, what I am doing today from the view of like someone in the International Space Station.
Yes.
Like the potential insignificance of me taking some notes, getting ready to interview. Well, you already pulled back the curtain, having just interviewed Bradley.
Yes.
Like the number of things going on in this world truly is awe-inspiring.
As a great man once said, I think everything's happening a lot more than we think it is.
Yes. Agree. Retweet.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think the author says that to find awe, we must look for these 8 wonders of life. And full disclosure, I've read this article. I haven't read his books yet, but the most common wonders of life are nature, music, visual design, and moral beauty, which is described as when we witness people helping other people.
Oh,
Which
I like that. Moral beauty.
Yeah, I like that, and I think I can click onto that because when something happens in the world, I can't remember who wrote. I read this somewhere. Someone told me that look for the people running towards like disaster and look for the helpers, and I think that's very awe-inspiring when we see kind of the collective rise up and help each other. Less common in terms of wonders of life, but often more profound, are quote unquote collective effervescence. Like what fans madly cheering together in sports stadiums feel. Spiritual experiences, epiphanies, which is when we learn something unexpected that may change our worldview. And then, of course, births and deaths, life's the beginning of life, the ending of life. But yeah, research shows that experiencing awe produces a multitude of positive effects, makes us calmer, kinder, more creative, and less likely to cheat. Which feels like a throw in there at the end. It reins in the ego and helps us feel more connected to the earth and to other creatures, which I guess makes sense if you're envisioning how you kind of fit into this whole rock.
This big blue
orbiting
marble.
The sun. Yeah, the big blue marble. Thank you. But yeah, so came across this article, and awe is one of those things that I find inspiring at times, and just kind of it helps ground me. And I think we could all stand to learn a little bit by just taking a step back and really seeing what we do through the lens of how others may see us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then there's tips on tips or studies that show that microdosing on awe is possible. And they have in this article, they have an art emotions map website that features pictures of famous artworks that are supposed to elicit certain feelings. But yeah, all I'm here to give you some support and say, like, think of something awesome.
Yeah, I like that. We spend so much time, working on ourselves and working on self-improvement and trying to be the best that we can. But I do think it's important to take a moment to take a step back and just appreciate the little things in life, the things that make us awe-inspired and also make us go awe. So, like, if you want to follow like a puppy Instagram account or something like that,
right?
And
Pro
also,
puppy, or get ready for the puppy bowl.
That's right, which is coming up. It's coming up. Yeah, keep up. Thanks, Josey.
Thanks, Greg.
So that's Josey with the big segment. Now we've got a special treat for you. We're going to be joined by Bradley Atuba to talk a little bit about what he's got going on. Here's our conversation with Bradley Atuba here on the RYLACast. Oh, Josey.
Oh, Greg.
Here on the RYLACast, our New Year's resolution was to book the very best and brightest guests. And that's why I'm so excited that we we're a month into the new year, and we're already on a heater. We're pleased to be joined by, I think, both of our friends. I mean, I don't want to speak for you. He's my friend.
You can speak for me. He's my
Okay.
friend.
All right. Both of our friends. We're joined by our friend, our mutual friend, Bradley Atuba. Hey, Bradley.
What's up, everybody?
So I guess first and foremost, thanks for your time. This was a tough book to get you on the show.
Yes, it was.
We went because you have layers and layers of representation that we had to sift through in order to get you, and definitely didn't happen because we saw each other on Saturday and you said, "Hey, when am I going to be on the podcast?" That's a false narrative that's out there, and we want to clear the air on that.
I don't think I've seen y'all since camp, so I don't. Yeah.
And there's certainly no photos of us in the same room at the same time in the last 72 hours.
Couldn't think of it. I don't know.
Certainly not.
Nope, not at all.
Well, Bradley, we do appreciate your time. I want to start this with a question that we ask a lot of people when they come on the podcast, which is, I'm interested in hearing your RYLA story and how you came to be involved with the program.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't think I've told the story in a while. So I was a camper back in 2013. I recently realized that this summer I'll be celebrating my 10-year anniversary, which makes me feel a little old. But hey, we're here. And I went to Lancaster High School. Go Tigers. And I was I think I was sitting down like social studies or something. And my counselor called me to his office, Mr. Perry, and he just handed me a pamphlet and a flyer and started talking to me about RYLA. He was like, honestly, I don't know much about this program. However, it's for leaders, and I think you're a leader, and I think you'll do well at this camp, and you'll have a great time. I looked in it. I looked in the flyer, and I was like, "Oh, these people look like they're having a lot of fun." Told my parents about it, and they said, "Yeah," and I did it, and it was the best experience I've ever had in my life. Have made lifelong friends, including you two. And yeah, I think it was one of the first events and experiences that has informed and impacted the man I am today. So, yeah.
2013. Okay, so I feel like that was just yesterday too, Bradley. So it's not just you. So
I personally, as a 2003 camper, I personally don't want to hear it.
Oh.
We'll move on. So how would you say, Bradley, that you use RYLA in your everyday life?
Oh, I still use it every single day. So I currently teach at, I'm an actor and an educator in the DFW area. And I currently teach at Booker T. Washington, the Performing Arts High School. And I teach at SMU, both in Dallas. And especially with my SMU kids, I teach a non-majors class. So it's an acting class for non-majors. So I have your business and finance and engineering and nursing, all the students that aren't theater. If I'm being honest with myself and calming down my ego, most of them are taking the class to fulfill a fine arts elective. However, I don't really think about that. I'm like, all of you want to be here. Y'all were waiting for to be in my class. That's the perspective I like to take. And the ultimate goal, the dream of the class is getting these kids to step out of their comfort zone, which we try to do in RYLA as well. And for the students at SMU, for the non-majors, I find it so interesting and so funny, and also at the same time kind of like heart wrenching how, because of like society's pressures and um, when you're in elementary and middle school and high school, people say, "Oh, you're not cool. This is cool. This is not cool. This person is cool. You're not cool if you wear this. You're not cool if you do this." And because of all of that, students, children, humans just start to like cave in and protect themselves from everything and everybody. And the goal of the class is just like, can we tap back into what it felt like to be a kid again, and the innocence that you had, and the lack of care you had for embarrassing yourselves. You were just in your own world, in your own lane. So it's tapping back into that, and getting them to be themselves authentically and unapologetically, to step out of their comfort zones. And yeah, I learned that from RYLA, and I try to teach it every single day.
Okay, that's interesting. And I, as a non-theater major, I actually appreciate that there's a non-theater. Let me make sure I pronounce this correctly. An acting class for non-majors, because that would be intimidating. Even if it, I tend to agree that it's not just to satisfy a fine arts credit. It's because you are the teacher, Bradley.
Hmm.
But how did you even like get into what brought you to teaching at Booker T and SMU?
Well, so I went to grad school. I recently received my MFA in acting from SMU in May of 2022. And while in grad school, we were on my cohort, we're on like a scholarship. And a part of the scholarship is we teach non majors. And because of the pandemic, the next class of SMU grads weren't recruited. So this year, they have their first year grads now, but they don't have enough credits to teach until their second year. So me and one of my classmates were brought back on by the chair of the department to teach this final year before the second years come back on next year, if that makes sense. And for Booker T, which is funny enough, I actually auditioned for Booker T when I was going into my junior and senior year. I auditioned twice. I auditioned for it when I was in high school, but didn't get in. I got put on the wait list because I lived out of district. And now, turn around like years later, I was offered a job from two mentors and respected actors and artists in the industry in Dallas. They offered me a job to teach the advanced acting seniors. So yeah, it's funny and crazy how life works.
So okay, so you are obviously very successful, but I'm also interested because because of your line of work, there is an inherent element of failure and kind of how do I want to put this? An amount of failure that I think some people could assume is personal. Do you know what I mean? Like you're putting yourself out there with these auditions and things like that. And I'm interested, for people who are hearing this, how you have come to process, understand, and work through something that I think would be really defeating for a lot of people. But obviously, you've found ways to rise above it. I'm interested in what kind of advice you would have for people who are facing down those types of challenges.
Oh man, that's a good one. That's
Thank
a
you.
really good
Thank
one.
you. I wrote it in my dream journal.
If I'm being honest, I'm still learning and navigating through that as we speak. However, I do have a lot of mentors that have given me advice, and I keep telling myself every single day. The main advice I've been given by one of my mentors, Tiana, is what's for you will come to you. And if it doesn't come to you, it wasn't meant for you. And so that sounds great, and it is great, and it's been great to live by. However, what I struggle with, and I'm sure a lot of artists and a lot of humans struggle with as well. What I struggle with is my inner judges come out to play a lot. So your inner judges are the voices in your head that when you're looking in the mirror that says, oh, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too this, you're too that. You're not funny. You're not cute. You're not all these things. So my inner judges come out to play saying, hey, you're not enough. Hey, you're not successful. Hey, you're not making enough money right now. Hey, you didn't get this part because of X, Y, and Z, all of these things. And I'm not going to lie and say that I don't hear them and that they don't exist. However, I do my best in listening to them because they're there and letting it pass through me, but knowing that this too shall pass. And if I'm like sad right now, if I got a rejection, if I got a no from somebody, this too shall pass. Just because I'm sad right now doesn't mean I'm going to be sad in a couple days. I know today is a redirection to another yes, maybe in a week, maybe in a month, maybe in a year. But I feel like it all comes back to what's for you will come to you, and what's not for you will not.
And so to kind of circle back to RYLA and the program, I'm interested. You mentioned that you are you said how ancient you are because it's going to be 10 years since you went to camp, and my goodness, could you imagine? But my question is why stay involved? There's a lot of people who have come and gone over the past decade, and you've been a steady force within the RYLA program. What is it that keeps you involved, keeps you coming back?
I keep coming back because honestly, it's a selfish reason.
Let it rip, baby.
Just because I love it so freaking much. It's just so cool. And when I'm there, even when I'm not there, when I'm just thinking about it, I still wear my RYLA backpack to this day. But when I'm there, it just feels like nothing else exists. And I am in my happy place. I'm in my safe haven and I'm protected. I feel held. But I keep coming back for that. And also, when I was a senior, going into my senior year of high school and I came to camp, I was just overwhelmed with the grace and the care and the tenderness and the love that RYLA had for me. And I would love my mission coming back every single year was to be that representation and be that person for the next year, for the campers. And I could talk all day about RYLA. But there's been people that have been put in my life, including you two, that I look up to. Some are gone, some are still here. But I have always wanted to, when it comes down to it, I feel like I've always wanted to leave a legacy. And I know in my heart of hearts that RYLA is a part of my legacy. So, yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Bradley. And now we come to the time in the podcast where we invite all our esteemed, distinguished guests to plug something. It could be a podcast, show, book, yourself, RYLA. But the floor is now yours to plug away.
Well, I would always like to plug in myself. If you don't know me, get to know me. I'm a cool dude.
Hard agree.
Can confirm.
Don't be afraid of me. But yes, so I like to plug in myself. But for real, what would I like to plug in? So I love films and TV shows. I binge them. I'm currently on a binging spree of films. One of the highlights of the year is getting ready for the Oscars, and so currently I just finished binging Tar with Kate Blanchett and Causeway with Jennifer Lawrence and Brian Tyree Henry, and a couple of other films. However, there's this one film that did not get nominated, and I feel some type of way about it.
All right.
There's this one film called The Woman King with Viola Davis, starred, and I believe she produced it as well. And it is amazing. It is truly amazing. So The Woman King that got snubbed from the Oscars, and also two shows from scratch on Netflix with Zoe Saldana. It's amazing. And The Last of Us, which is currently streaming on HBO Max.
I've had a lot of people recommend that. That's been all over my Twitter.
Okay, I have
it's oh my god. Episode 3 just came out on Sunday and I cried. It's so good.
I have a follow-up to The Last of Us.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you played the game?
Yeah, it's a video
the
game,
show
right?
is based off of. Yeah.
No, I haven't. However, on my Twitter feed, it's like all over my Twitter feed, and it's like comparing and contrasting the game to the actual show and just saying how amazing it is that it's literally basically the same thing, same outfits, same movements, same everything. So I can only imagine how great it is to have that POV of playing the game and now watching it in real life. That would be amazing. Have you, Josey?
Yeah. I'm a bit of a nerd, and my younger brother told me that The Last of Us was coming out and I should play the game, and so I binged the game before episode 1.
Is that a thing?
Over the
Do
past
people
couple
binge
weeks.
the game?
I mean, like, I had like a day job and I'm a parent, so when I say binge, it took me like 7 months to play the game.
Right.
But like, absolutely agree. When HBO, I'm a little HBO fanboy. When I found out it was HBO that was doing the series, I was like, okay, this has some potential. And like the little thread that is the gameplay, like episode 3 perfectly spun in terms of like how a show can enhance, whether it's based on a book or a game or whatever. Highly recommend the game. It's a little scary.
Ooh.
But yeah. But yeah, highly recommend.
I don't like spooky things. All right, but then finally, my final question for Bradley Atuba, our guest, is that if you are binging all of the Best Picture nominees, do you have a pick right now, a pick to click for Best Picture?
Ooh, Best Picture? I actually have it pulled up, the Best Picture nominees.
Okay, here we go.
Let me go back to it. Oh yeah, that's okay. I haven't watched all of them. I still need to watch Avatar, but I don't think that's going to be the W for me. And I still need to watch The Fabelmans. And
It's a Spielberg one.
Yes, and then I still need to watch All Quiet on the Western Front and Women
My
Talk.
folks watched it. Now they're, my folks, so, imagine how old I am. But they watched it. But they thought it was great.
Okay. I was planning on watching it probably like tomorrow. However, my top pick, if I have to choose, that's what I'm doing, is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay.
Have y'all watched it?
I have not, but again, that's another thing that has been that if these wiener kids weren't in my way, then I could watch all these awesome things. But yeah, it's been recommended to me multiple times.
Yeah, it's probably the most brilliant film I have ever watched in my life.
Wow.
It's just it's truly brilliant, Josie and
Okay.
Tab. It's brilliant, and it's after you watch it, it's the perfect title. It's the perfect title. Everything,
Okay.
everywhere, all at once.
Well, our guest is Bradley Atuba, and he is everything, everywhere, all at once for us. Bradley, we appreciate your time, and thank you for coming on the RYLACast.
Thank you for having me.
And our thanks once again to Bradley Atuba, our special guest here on the RYLACast. It's now my turn to take us home, Josey. And actually, this is going to be our last podcast before the Super Bowl. The superb owl. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm a bit of a sports nut.
I've heard.
Yeah. And actually, if you are interested, this is the first ever meeting of Texas high school football quarterbacks in a Super Bowl, with Patrick Mahomes, who went to White House, and Jalen Hurts, who went to Channelview. It's also the first ever meeting of black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. A lot of firsts here. It's the first ever meeting of two brothers in the Super Bowl, Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce, is that his name?
Jason Kelce, yeah.
Yeah. That they are, So a lot of firsts going on with this particular superb owl. But I'd love to tell you that I know exactly how I got to this, but I started thinking about one of my all-time favorite sports stories, and I'd like to tell you the story of one of my all-time favorite sports stories, if that's okay.
I am all ears for that.
Josey, and I promise you, for those who aren't in the sports, that this does have a RYLACast tie at the end. Josey, do you know who Stephen Bradbury is?
Okay, I've heard the name.
Okay. So Stephen, tell me when like something dings for you, okay?
Okay.
Stephen Bradbury is Australian.
Okay.
No, nothing. Okay.
Nothing.
Stephen Bradbury is the first athlete from the Southern Hemisphere to win a Winter Olympic gold medal.
Okay.
Do you know anything about this story?
I don't think I do, actually.
I'm so happy to tell you the story. So, Stephen Bradbury is a speed skater. He's a short track speed skater, from Australia. And you are thinking, wow, they'll do anything anywhere, won't they? And you're right, they will. They speed skate in Australia. He was part of, actually in 1994, he won Australia's first ever Winter Olympic medal, a bronze medal in 1994 as part of a short track relay team. Okay? But what he is best known for is in 2002 in Salt Lake City. So in Salt Lake City, Stephen Bradbury is in the he wins his heat, and he's in the 1,000 meters. Okay, the 1,000 meters of short track speed skating. And he wins his heat. It's going pretty well. Things are great. He gets to the quarterfinals, and in the quarterfinals, he gets put in the same race as this is a name from the past that maybe you recognize, maybe you don't. Apollo Anton Ono.
Okay. Yes, when you say speed skating, that's literally the only name I recognize. Got it.
Apollo Anton Ono. So he's in the same quarterfinal as him, plus Marc Gagnon of Canada, the defending world champion, in the quarterfinal. It is done and dusted from here because only the top two from each quarterfinal go through to the semifinals. Okay, done and dusted. And sure enough, Bradbury finishes third, and it's over. Except Gagnon was disqualified for obstructing another racer, so he moves in to the semifinals by that most wonderful word, default. So he gets in to the semifinals. But now, I mean, you're in the semifinals of the Olympics. These are like the world's best speed skaters. Things are going bad. And sure enough, the semifinal starts, and Stephen Bradbury's in last place. Well off the pace of the medal favorites. Just falling way behind. But then, defending Olympic champion from South Korea, Kim Dong-sung, and multiple Olympic medalist Li Jinwan from China and Mathieu Turcotte from Canada all crash.
Oh, no.
So it paves the way for Stephen Bradbury to take first place and move into the final. Okay, so now he's in the final with the guy who finished second in that race, who got up, Turcotte. He got up and was able to finish second, plus Apollo Antonono, plus like 2 other people. Okay, and he is so there's 5 people in this final. Obviously, he's thinking, okay, what's going on here? This is nuts, but certainly can't all happen. Into the final corner of the race, and all 4 of his opponents crash into one another, and Stephen Bradbury wins the gold medal. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
This happens. This is on YouTube. You can go watch it. It's incredible. I've watched it like 100 times. It is the most incredible Olympic story of all time. And it's one of my favorite sports stories. Okay. Now, here's the thing, is that there is I think Stephen Bradbury is a pretty remarkable story. He actually, in September 2000, 2 years before the Winter Olympics, he broke his neck in a training accident. He was in a halo brace for a month and a half. He had to have pins inserted in his skull and his back and his chest and stuff, like really terrible stuff. He comes back to win the gold medal. And I think afterwards, of course, everyone wants to talk to him because he just won the gold medal. But like, he won it in this kind of, I don't want to say fluky way, but he did. And I thought he had a great quote. And this is the quote that brings it all together for a RYLA story. This is the quote from him. He goes, "I don't think I'll take the medal as the minute and a half of the race that I actually won. I'll take it as the last decade of the hard slog I put in." And I like that a lot.
I like that a lot.
Like, yes, did Stephen Bradbury get a little bit lucky in Salt Lake City? Yes. Go watch the tape. It's remarkable. He got a little bit lucky. But he also earned his way there. And I think that just because things break your way to get you the gold medal doesn't mean you didn't earn what you got. And so I like that quote. I think that's both a humble and accurate way of approaching challenges like that, where, yeah, you know what? Maybe things didn't go great the entire way, but I fought through and I got myself into a position to succeed. And that's the most important thing. So there's the story of Stephen Bradbury, Australia's only Winter Olympic gold medalist and the only Winter Olympic gold medalist from the Southern Hemisphere.
I really like that.
Yeah.
The story, the message, the whole bit.
Yeah. So there you go. There's the story of Stephen Bradbury. One of my favorite sports stories. So,
incredible.
There you go. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Please go to the podcast, or I'm sorry, the website, which is RYLA5810.org for all things Camp RYLA Rotary District 5810. If you like this podcast, please rate and subscribe and tell a friend. And here with an antiquated way of telling a friend about the RYLAcast is Josey.
Yes, thank you, Greg. A little bit longer today. So the Pony Express was a mail delivery service that communities used throughout the Great Plains and across the Rockies in the early 1860s. Using a series of relay stations, messages could be delivered coast to coast in just 10 days. Pony Express was also the name of the backfield of the SMU football team in the
Pony
80s. Pony Up. Pony Excess, wonderful 30 for 30 about SMU, Pony Express. So, in the spirit of Pony Express, since Bradley works at SMU, Antiquated Way is going to the Horseshoe at SMU and telling folks to listen to the RYLAcast.
That's brilliant. Josey, thanks for your courage.
Thanks, Greg.
Talk to you next time on the RYLAcast.